Hello guys, this is Dr. Dheeraj Masapu. I'm a senior consultant in the field of neuroanesthesiology, and if you would like to settle in UK, then the best way to go there is through EDAC. The reason being, if you pass EDAC, you can directly get a GMC number, you can apply for jobs there. Okay, so what I did is today I actually invited a consultant from UK who also has a coaching platform called Akamedics, and he is been training people for EDAC since many years, and his success percentage is near to 100%. Okay, so I would like to introduce him to you, and he is going to tell you tips and tricks and different ways to prepare for EDAC and how to face EDAC 1 and 2. And also we discussed about Irish degree, FIAC, and then why somebody should do that fellowship of a College of Anaesthetists of Ireland, and how is it superior to EDAC is what we discussed, and how does all these degrees help you guys in getting your name into the specialist register. That is like becoming a consultant in UK. So entering UK is one thing, and becoming a consultant in UK is a different ball game totally. How do all these degrees help you in climbing the ladder in UK is what we discussed today. And before going into the interview, I think you should know why you should go to UK. Hello all, this is Dr. Dheeraj Masapu. I'm a senior consultant in neuroanesthesiology, and today we have Dr. Danish Siddiq, who is a consultant anesthesiologist in University Hospital North Midlands in UK. And welcome to the video and channel, sir.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure, Dr. Dheeraj.
So I would directly like to go to the question. So the question for you is, so EDAC, many Indian students are showing interest in EDAC exam. So why should somebody after MD anesthesiology or DNB anesthesiology write EDAC exam, and how is this going to help them in settling in UK, or if they plan to go to Middle Eastern country like Dubai and Abu Dhabi? How does EDAC help them?
So thank you once again for having me on this program. The main reason for EDAC is to open up a channel to have a GMC registration. As you're aware that to practice in UK, you need GMC registration, and there are different routes for GMC registration. One of the routes is writing a PLAB exam, which is quite extensive for a trained anesthetist. The other route is going through an MTI, Medical Training Initiative program. Again, that takes time and it's a matter of luck. The most certain way of getting GMC registration is passing the EDAC examination, both the parts, and then followed by passing the English examination, OET or IELTS, and getting a GMC registration. Then once you have a GMC registration, you are eligible to apply for jobs, anesthesia jobs in UK. As far as working in Middle East is concerned, I cannot see a very significant difference that EDAC will make in your employability. Yes, you certainly look better on your CV, but I have not heard of any specific benefits people get from having EDAC.
Okay, got it. So basically, it will ease the entry into UK. So
that's correct.
So then, so now I am the student and I decided to prepare for EDAC, and I want to settle in UK. So how many years of experience should I have before attempting EDAC?
So as long as you've done your training in anesthesia, whichever country you belong to, and you've gone through those training years, I think it's 2 or 3 years of training program, and you have a post-graduation certification from your country. So in case of India, it's MD or DNB. In other countries, it's FCPS and other board exams. If you have that in place, then you are eligible to sit EDAC Part 2. Part 1, generally people are able to sit. It's Part 2 where they get stuck. So make sure that when you attempt part one, you have a clearance to sit part two as well. Because I have seen few people who got stuck at part one and were never able to complete part two. So that is my advice to people who are starting their journey. I don't think in India anybody will have that problem, but certain countries have certain qualifications which are not recognized and they get stuck. Um, in terms of experience, I think just after just as one is finishing their post graduation, that is probably the best time to prepare, because your knowledge is fresh and you're in the student sort of a mode.
So EDAC part one, if we're preparing, then how is the exam going to be? What is the toughness level, and how should one start the preparation? How many months of preparation is required according to you?
So EDAC part one is a written exam and MCQ based exam, and generally I've seen people from Asian origin or even African origin have no problem in passing the part one exam. Toughness wise, in terms of core subject questions where the knowledge, where factual knowledge is needed, most candidates succeed very easily. Where the knowledge needs a little bit of a decision making in clinical scenarios, that is when you need to have a little bit of exposure. And I think being exposed to MCQs early on in your preparation is very vital for your preparation. So I recommend to everyone that as soon as you start preparing for your part one, if you have picked up, let's say, physiology, for example, start attempting physiology MCQs straight away, so you know where your knowledge is deficient and you can top up your knowledge accordingly. And I think it gives you a little bit of an advantage that you develop some sort of a MCQ sense. You develop pattern recognition, you understand the purpose behind that MCQ better, and you're able to answer it much better compared to taking MCQ preparation very late, or taking the MCQ tests very late in your preparation. In terms of time scale, I think 3 months to 6 months, depending on how much time you're able to dedicate every day, it should be more than enough for MCQ preparation.
So what are the sources for preparation for EDAC part one?
Yeah, EDAIC, they've also, although they've mentioned quite a lot of sources which are very nicely, which nicely cover the subject. I think going through those recommended books mentioned on the European Society of Anesthesia and Intensive Care website, they are very good sources. There are lots of multiple true-false books available. I think that should be the other aspect. There are online resources available as well, on examination. I don't want to patronize any particular one, but there are very good sources available. And I think what I recommend people when they're picking up MCQs, pick up books and MCQ sources which are fairly recent. It's because the pattern changes very regularly. So it's better to have something which is within the last 5 to 7 years, or maybe within the last 10 years. Anything that is more than 10 years old, the kind of questions change significantly. So they're not contemporary to what is going to be asked.
So is it better to go for online training, or sitting and reading books, or what do you recommend? Which is better according to you?
I think again, individual choice matters a lot here. Some people are very much focused on books, and they like to mark their books, and they relish the thought of putting stickers and notes on their books. So they can, based on their individual choice, they can do that. But the advantage with online material is that it gets updated very quickly. So the chances of picking up the more updated material is higher in the online version.
Got it. It depends on the individual, basically. That is what you're telling. Or a combination of both would be a better way, maybe.
Ideally, it's a combination of both.
Got it, sir.
So then EDAC part 1 I have cleared, and then EDAC part 2 is the toughest, right? So toughest in the sense it is a Viva based exam basically, EDAC part 2.
That's correct. I have noticed that that is the core area where most students struggle when it comes to Viva. MCQ is usually a smooth sail for most. I think 90 to 95% candidates never have any struggle in the MCQs. But and Viva, I've noticed some very good students in terms of their knowledge base. Um, they've done their post graduation from some very reputable institutions and still struggle with the Viva. And it's to do with the format of the examination. I think the examination systems are quite different in their own countries and in Europe, and that is where they get caught out. And that is exactly where we help them the most. Where our main specialization is EDAC Part 2,
Okay.
and that is where we will be able to help you out most.
So how to actually approach you through the website, right? Akamedics, if I have to log in, so directly we can come into a website and you, what is the pattern of training that you provide?
Yeah, in terms of accessibility, we are all very accessible. All our faculty are, we are available on WhatsApp, emails, we have a marketing team that's available almost 24/7. So accessibility should not be a problem. In terms of discussing what suits you best, that is the thing that you have to decide what is most suitable in terms of the time scale you have. So for example, someone has got a year of preparatory time. And so their choices will be very different to someone who has only a month of preparatory time left. And uh, usually what we recommend is that person should go through all the recorded vivas and lectures in first place, and then come for the actual interactive vivas. That way they've gained a lot of knowledge, they have understood the pattern of the viva, and when they face it in real time, they're much better equipped, their skills are beginning to develop. In contrast, person who has not had this and they face the Viva first time without any preparation, sometimes it's a bit demoralizing for them because they feel that they do not know enough to pass this exam, which is not true. Most people have enough knowledge to pass this exam. It is the Viva skills and the skills to survive a difficult situation in the exam. That is what they need to learn.
So first the recorded sessions they have to finish, and then they have to sit with for a mock interviews. That is what you're telling us. That is the thing.
That's correct. We have something called as observer viva, which is basically recorded vivas of other candidates. And what I recommend most candidates to do is to sit with a pen and paper, and as the question is being asked to the other candidate, at in the same time start writing whatever is coming to your head in terms of bullet points. And what is important here is to practice your recall. It's very vital to practice your recall. Now, I give this example and I'll use it here as well. You know, when we are traveling, we pack our bags, our suitcases for traveling. Now, it depends on how well you have packed your bags. If you've packed it in a nice structured way, then picking out things from the bag becomes a lot more easier.
Yeah.
And same thing happens when you're storing knowledge. If you have stored knowledge in a structured way, then bringing it out gets easier. Similarly, what happens to most candidates, they like to pack their bags with knowledge. They would like to read, meaning thereby they like to stuff so much knowledge within them. They're not practicing recall, which is retrieving that knowledge from that bag, retrieving that information from that bag. And that is the most vital information, because that is the most vital skill, because time is very limited in the exam and you have to be very quick in recall and move on. I mean, EDAC 2 is a very fast paced exam. And if you're losing 30 seconds of your time, you're losing quite a lot of marks in that 30 seconds. So it's very important that you can quickly answer, move on to the next question, and give a very fast-paced viva. So it's very important that when they do this mock viva, we ask them rapid-fire questions, it gives them the skill to have a rapid recall, and that gets them through the exam.
Super. Your example is very appropriate for the situation. Very nice. So then, so Irish degrees also in your training, right? Like FCA. How do you, if you had to compare between EDAC and Ireland degree, like which is better? Like, can all Indians write Irish degree? And if they can write, then if you have to compare between EDAC and FCA, which is better according to you?
So Irish Fellowship is definitely a more difficult exam, and its eligibility criteria is different as well. So to sit the Irish exam, one can sit the first part of the Irish exam, which is the MCAI, which is in two parts, written followed by SOE, which is Viva and OSCE. Then that makes the person eligible. After passing the MCI, they become eligible to sit the second part, which is called FCI, Fellowship of the College of Anesthesiologists of Ireland. Yeah. So to sit the FCI, there are certain exemptions as well. These exemptions allow you to go straight to FCI rather than doing MCAI, the first part. So in these exemptions, one of the exemption is to pass the EDAIC, whole EDAIC examination. Once you have
one and two both.
One and two both, yes. After passing the part 2, then you become eligible to go directly into FCAI examination. FCAI examination is significantly different. It's a more in-depth examination. It is in two parts. The first part is a written part, where it's based on it's traditionally SAQs and CRQs, short answer questions and CRQs. This requires a completely different skill sets, where you need to be, this is an online examination as well, so you need to have a good typing speed. You have to have the awareness of how much to write in each segment without wasting much time, because this is you need to go a specific type of training, which our faculty, we have two very, very specialized and focused faculty members who deliver this training, and it's literally asking the candidate to how to go through every section of the exam, and by training them in a stepwise manner, how much to write and where to write, and in how much time to write, that gives the candidate the confidence to be able to do online exam. Now, this exam is also about having the right exposure, because this is a very much more advanced exam. So the topics in this exam are significantly different. The topics covered in this exam are significantly different from EDAC. And awareness of those topics is very important for the candidates. There are lots of blogs and lots of groups available which give you that awareness, but to have that hand-holding experience whereby you write the answers, your answers are being analyzed by someone and given a proper feedback on that, that is very, very important. And I think that is where our faculty help a lot. And this course has been going on actually for the last 2.5 years, and with amazing amount of success. There was an instance where all candidates, I think there were about 6 or 7 candidates who appeared from our course, and all of them passed. So one of the highlights of our course was that we had 100% result on one occasion. But certainly it's a very recommended exam for people who have finished their EDAC Part 2 and are looking to step up to their knowledge. FCI is important in terms of your career progression, because it's a fellowship compared to EDAC, which is a diploma. This is a fellowship exam, and it has a different weight compared to the diploma. And when a person is based in UK and they're trying to trying to have their career progression, and there this comes in quite handy. Either doing FRCA or FCI is important in their career progression. Purely on the basis of European Diploma or EDAIC examination, it's not recommended. I think you will certainly add a little bit more weight on your application, on your specialist registration, as it's called. Every anaesthetist in UK, in order to work as a consultant, should have a specialist registration with GMC, and that specialist registration happens in two ways. One way is going through the whole training process, the 7 years of training. That is one method of going through it. The other equivalence method, it's called, or CESAR, CESR method, as it was called, is that you emulate that pathway. You do the same things recommended in a training, but you recreate those things in your training in your own time and space. For example, if you recommended to do 3 months of cardiac anesthesia, you do that separately. It's not a part of your training, and likewise you go through all those specialist areas of anesthesia, get the paperwork done, and sign it off. That is called CESAR. There, I think this FCI is quite important.
So if you have FCA and if you have finished all the modules in as per the CESAR requirements, your chances of entry into specialist register will become more. That is what.
Certainly. Although EDAIC is also considered an equivalent test of knowledge. It's the weightage for EDAIC, FCI, FRC is the same. I feel that it's important to have a fellowship as well when you're going for a specialist registration and you will be applying for jobs. Having your chances of getting shortlisted for jobs with amongst all the other candidates having a fellowship hat on, your chances will be a lot better when you have a fellowship.
So between FRCA and FCI, so is the preparation same or any differences there?
They're very similar exams. The problem with the FRCA is that you need a certain amount of experience of work in UK. So a lot of people who have not worked in UK will not be eligible to sit FRCA, final FRCA. And FCI doesn't have those restrictions. So sometimes after doing your EDAIC 2, you can, while you're sitting in India, you're based in India, you can go online and sit the written part. For the Viva part, you have to come to Ireland to sit the exam. However, during COVID, people sat the Viva part sitting in India, and they never traveled out of India and finished the fellowship. So, but certainly you have to travel for the second part.
Understood, sir. Basically, FRCA you have to work in UK, but FCA you don't have to work. You just have to go through the exam process.
That's correct.
Perfect. So then, if somebody is planning to go to UK, better to finish EDAIC 1 and 2, and FCA also. I think maybe FCA they can do once they start working in UK, once they get the job, maybe.
Yes, I think that choice depends on the individual circumstances. I recommend that anybody who's young, they're in their 30s or their early 40s, I think they should go through the training process. They should apply for training and sit the primary FRCA, because to get into training, you have to sit the primary FRCA.
Okay.
So they have to start back again from primary FRCA, get into training, do the final FRCA, and finish the training and get the specialist registration. But someone who's in their mid 40s or so, I would say that they have the option of, because of personal circumstances, it's sometimes not easy to be rotating into different hospitals and going around. So it's sometimes easier, and sometimes it's even shorter in terms of duration. Sometimes people have spent only 2 to 3 years, and they've gotten the specialist registration. compared to at least 4 to 5 years of period needed for of training that is needed. So time scale is different.
But you recommend to go through training basically of 7 years.
Yeah, if you have done your specialization, anesthesia specialization in India, then you don't need to do the whole 7 years. You start from third year of your training. So year 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, that's 5 years in total.
5 years. So that is better actually. So
Yeah.
then you can enter the specialist register and there will be CCT is what you get then.
That's correct, yes.
That is more valuable actually. If somebody is planning to go to Middle East and other countries, there is a little bit difference actually. So the differentiate between CCT root consultants and Caesar consultants. Slight
Very
difference
true.
is there.
Yes, very true. Caesar is always a second choice compared to CCT in Middle East. However, in UK, I mean, at the moment, there is a huge demand for senior anesthetists. So usually after Caesar, you're able to secure a substantive job.
Yeah. So next, anything else you would like to highlight us, sir, about the EDAC, FRCA, Irish degree, and anything else, tips and tricks during the exam?
I think most candidates who think that these exams can be done with the preparation in an isolated way, locking yourself in a room, reading lots of books and listening to lots of material, podcasts, and there are lots of available. I think that is a fallacy. Interaction is really, really key in this, and unless you test your knowledge in front of being exposed with someone else actually pressurizing you and checking your resilience during a viva process, you never know how well prepared you are. So rather than facing the stress on the day of the viva, I recommend face that stress a few weeks, a few months before the viva and get yourself ready. I have had lots of candidates coming back to me and saying, I wasn't stressed in the exam. It seemed like a regular mock viva sessions that we conduct every weekend. And I think that is very key here. Like any sports, for example, when you're training for a match, for example, your training sessions are much more intense. And that is what we do. We go that extra level to make you go through some very difficult situations, so that on the day of the exam, you find it a lot more easier. So I recommend all of you to at least have a couple of at least 2-3 weeks of, on a minimum, at least 2-3 weeks of mock viva. Ideally, you should start your mock vivas at least 2 months before your exam. The reason behind that is it takes time to settle down into that mock viva session. After 2 to 3 weeks, you start gaining the confidence, and then you start sort of performing in those sessions. So we run these sessions every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and these are like very extensive sessions for about 4 hours. We have very dedicated and very experienced faculty. Some are based in UK and some are based in UAE and India, and they're all top notch. They keep themselves very, very updated about the questions being asked. I mean, the kind of questions that can be asked, the kind of topics, not questions, sorry, the kind of topics being asked, and what are the newer areas generally. Like what we tend to do is our main preparation is FCI examination, which is a difficult examination. We set that as a standard, and based on those kind of difficult questions, we start preparing our candidates for EDAIC. So those candidates preparing for EDAIC are very well prepared for that exam. It's an easier exam relatively. So I suggest that first you start at least 2 to 3 months with us, and other than that, don't think that just by reading books you will be adequately prepared for the exam.
Thank you, sir. One more question is there about this Dubai and Abu Dhabi. They have a Prometric exam. So do you like Akamedics will train people in that also, or you're not into that area?
We are not into those exams. All our material that is available online is very valid for any anesthesia exam, because we have mapped our all our courses to the FRCA curriculum, or the Royal College of Anesthetists curriculum, and based on that curriculum, there's nothing that gets missed out. So once you have gone through that curriculum, you will be doing all areas of basic sciences and clinical anesthesia, and specialist clinical anesthesia size like neuro, cardiac, peds, pain. All these things will be covered quite extensively. Recently, especially in European diploma, the questions are very sort of image-based questions on POCUS and regional anesthesia blocks, uh, ventilator loop, flow volume loop curves, and so those kind of questions sometimes catch candidates out. So our questioning has also evolved, and we also ask our candidates to do a bit of critical thinking when they're answering those questions. So very important that you get exposed to that kind of questioning and things like that. But to answer your question, yes, we are very academically oriented. We haven't actually specialized ourselves to the UAE or any Middle Eastern standards, but certainly our material will help.
So by going through your material, since it is extensive, it will cover any exam. That is what you're telling. So because many of my subscribers are asking me how to prepare for DHA and HAT examinations. So I think for them that is the answer. They can go through this material and can apply for DHA and HAT examinations.
I would suggest that people in India who are sitting their MD exams and DNB exams, they will benefit from this material as well. A lot of our content is available for free. So if you go to the website, at least 20% of the content you can see that for free. Have a look at it, and certainly if you find that it's useful for you, it will certainly help you with your exam. Then definitely subscribe to it much earlier than actually for these specialist exams.
Yes, in the first and second year only, if they can go through all your material, it makes their exam also easier to pass their MD and DNB. That way also will be sorted out.
Yes. And I think if you have access to that kind of preparation early in your career, early in your anesthesia journey, it does give you the perspective very early on, and you're able to, handle these exams much better later on.
So now I understood, sir, after listening to all your talk, then what I feel now is I made a roadmap for myself. If I go back in time, what I would do is in the first year or at the end of first year, I will actually take your Akamedics and then I'll start preparing for all the Viva sessions from that point of time, so that by the time I reach my final year examination, it would help me in passing my final MD or DNB Viva also in a very good way. The chances of me getting gold medal will increase in my university. And then parallelly, immediately, the moment I finish that, since I'm loaded with subject, within 2-3 months, I'll plan to finish EDAIC 1 also. And then, for a due course of time, EDAIC Part 2. So what is your comments on this roadmap?
I think this is perfect plan in the sense that you do not spend any extra month or any extra day on getting yourself deviated from if you have decided that you have to come to UK or you have to work overseas, then I think focusing on it very early on is the right approach. Finishing your part 1 exams as soon as you finish your post-graduation, keeping in mind that EDAIC Part 1 only happens once a year in September, and the application for that exam opens around March-April period. So once you have secured your center, by September, you will be able to sit the exam. Time it in a way that once you've finished your MD or your DNB exam, you're able to straight away sit the Part 1 exam. For example, you sit the exam in September 2024 and you get your result in October and November 2024. In 2025, January 2025, the applications for EDAIC Part 2 will open. First exam will take place in March 2025. And then every month, the exam takes place twice. So at the end of the first week of the month and at the beginning of the last week of the month, or on the weekends, these exams will take place. They happen every month except between July and August. There is a little break, but they will start from March and they will finish in December. So now you have passed part 1. You have applied for part 2 in January 2025. Straight away, if you have prepared yourself well, if you have done these mock vivas and all these preparatory courses for 2-3 months, your knowledge is still fresh. You have skilled yourself well for this exam. You can straight away sit for March, April, or May exam. If you feel you need more time, then you can delay it further by another 2-3 months, or even depending on your circumstances. Some people prefer doing it later in the year, October, November. But by the end of the year 2025, you have done your EDAC. You straight away do your OET or your IELTS exam, get the GMC registration, and you are set to apply for your UK for GMC and apply for jobs in UK. So I think that sounds like a very tight plan, a very slick plan, where you can quickly finish things one after the other in rapid succession.
Super. Now you completed my roadmap. Actually, I started the roadmap and you completed the roadmap, keeping the student in UK, working in a hospital, and then later on he will slowly become enter into specialist register based on his, dedication.
Yes, I would like to just add one point here. It's very important to take one step at a time. Otherwise, it becomes very overwhelming that, oh, I want to become a consultant. What do I do? So you cross that bridge when the time is right. Don't think about that step at this stage. Take one step at a time. Finish your EDAC 1. Have a plan about EDAC 2. So, and then, once you're in UK, then decide whether you need to go through the training pathway or Caesar pathway. I have found candidates being very overwhelmed and confused. There's no point in worrying about something which is not happening in the next couple of years. So I'd say just focus on the exam,
Okay.
get here and settle down, and then think about it later.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And you should come again for one more session in future with the Q&A session. A lot of questions are going to come in the comment section, and maybe 2-3 months down the line, we'll sit again for a Q&A session.
I'm happy to be with you at any point of time. It's been a pleasure interacting with you, and I hope that this session has answered a lot of questions which the candidates might have. If there are questions that are not answered, please feel free to post those questions, and I will try my best to answer those questions in the due course.
Thank you. Thank you all, and thanks for watching the video till then.